The pieces are beautiful in their own right, but are they the exercise, my guy? I think this is the best one for this exercise. Like, I can see the opposition because you are telling me. Let me think. How are you doing, my guys? Can you hear me all right? Design Syndrome here. Glad to have you back on the channel, on the streams, Design Dojo. Let's get it. How you doing, my guys? What you been up to this week? Have you been dying to assignments? If not, nothing. Like, just don't do them, I guess. Okay, chat's popping. Let's go. 1 a.m. real designer hours. You know, my guys, I've never been the type to work at a really late hours. I don't know what's the deal with that. Oh shit, let me get some mate. This is a Design Dojo stream that plays on my Discord channel, in which I give weekly graphic design assignments. To those entries that you give for the assignments, then I give feedback on the streams live, and also I made my piece. Here we are. This week's assignment was about making a 2-poster series in which you had to convey opposing emotions. Right? It could be something profound as chaos and order. Those are actually more on the ones that are more like on the nose, more fundamental, are actually the harder to do because you're relying on things that are being really played out, right? So you could make it about anything. You could make it a joke, you could make a bumper sticker. The thing, it needed to be 2 pieces that lean on contradicting or opposing emotions. You know what I mean? The point of the exercise being like, not really, you know, when we are doing something, usually we're trying to channel the emotion that we're feeling on the moment, right? When we're trying to do sort of a more of a artistic piece, right? Trying to get out there what we have inside. But the point of this exercise really is to be able to maybe talk about something that we want, right? But at the same time, reach out for the opposite emotion, right? Not just being able to do while we are feeling it, you know. It's kind of similar when we're working for a client, you know. Sometimes we need to reach out and try to communicate whatever they are feeling, but through our lens, you know what I mean. Not every time it's about communicating what we feel in the specific way we feel it. There is a video of this amazing YouTuber, I always talk about her. She's called Ter. Her videos are in Spanish, but she has this video about the performance and being performatic, and how does this can help us in our lives, you know, when we have these contradicting feelings. The usual example that I'm giving more frequently is this, I don't know, sometimes I'm having this hunger for just grinding and hustling, you know what I mean? And other times, I don't feel like it, right? And these are states in which we can be, and it's okay, right? And knowing when to lean on them and not just make them our identity, you know, because sometimes it's easy to fall into the, I identify as someone that's disciplined, right? So that means when you're not being disciplined, that's being a fault toward your character, right? You see it as a fundamental trait of you. And that doesn't give you any leeway to sort of play and relax in a meaningful way, you know? Every time you're relaxing, you're just not being disciplined because you set it as a point of your identity, right? So I guess this act of being performatic is sort of knowing which emotions are within you and just leaning on them as tools, right? You're not disciplined, and a fundamental characteristic of your identity. You resort to discipline when you need it, you know, and you resort to detachment and to resting and to letting things flow when you need it, right? Developing the touch to know when to reach for which, that's individual to every one of us, you know what I mean? But I went off the branches again. Sorry, my guys, but this is what it is. I like for every assignment to have some sort of intention before it, you know what I mean? Some philosophical backdrop or anything that's behind the exercise, right? Because I think now more than ever, we're gonna have to try to tie our design decisions or practices on things that are a bit more like deeper, you know what I mean? Everything's becoming so commoditized. The rhythm at which things are starting to be asked of us, you know, the creation of images, content, right? It's easy to lose the way, to stray off the path, you know what I mean? But that's what we're here for. That's what the dojo means. Dojo means place of the path, place of the way. So here, my guys, let's get to watching some bullshit on the Discord channel, you know what I mean? And yeah, I'm gonna put a cap on because my hair is a fucking mess. What type of book do you recommend to hammer the fundamentals and start from there regarding graphic design? I think the fundamentals are best practiced than studied, because these are things that you need to really put the repetitions in, like in any other kind of exercise, be it physical, be it whatever it is, so you can start to get the gauge of it. The first weeks of this year of the Design Dojo, we did a lot of that kind of typography work. If you go back to the streams and watch some of the first ones of this year, we have a bunch. The fundamentals, once you figure them out, like composition, hierarchy, typography, right? Some of semiotics, like symbols, right? Starting to think and start to juxtapose what things mean, because at the end of the day, graphic design is just that. It's text and images. How do you subvert the meaning of certain images? With words. That's what graphic design is, ultimately. Yeah, the best thing, I wouldn't recommend books. They are nice for reference. Once you sort of get going and you see something and you can sort of more easily draw inspiration from it and use it as reference, I think they are good. But I wouldn't get into books at the beginning. I fear also that they can get you in a really like paralyzed state. You create habits that then are maybe hard to get out of. There are a bunch of videos that can push you in some direction to try typography, to experiment with it. And yeah, try a bunch different swab of techniques and ways of doing things, right? But yeah, the fundamentals, I think in graphic design or in any performatic kind of thing, be it art, music, it's better practiced a lot than studied, like reading it from a book, you know what I mean? Like practice it and you'll acquire it, and then use the book. Then books are goated, but I mean design books, you know what I mean? Oh, I have a whole take on books, but yeah, practice. To get good, you honestly need to look at quality type for hours and hours and then set it yourself for hours. Yeah, practice makes perfect. Yeah, in this case, practice makes you average. Practice makes you average and then you become good by a lot of work, Get the rules straight, then distort them at your leisure. That's a really nice book. I don't know if this is exactly what you need, but picture this, How Pictures Work by Molly Bang. I think that's a really good book. I mean, I've heard things from it. Haven't read it. You have in the Shinobi, like the Black Codex, which is my book recommendation list on Notion. I'll leave you the link here. Okay, guys. Okay, we have a few. Okay, e.g. Emmanuel Guerrero, let's go. So I went with the stickers like the ones you see on cars, skateboards, mirrors, etc. Harry Hines, it's a place where you can find women of labor, where I'm from. I personally like making darker, edgier stuff, so I decided to try to design something around this taboo subject. I like that. Then on the flip side, I felt like a happy-go-lucky design is probably the opposite of the prostitution one, so that's what I did. I struggled a bit because I'm not that type of person to make these things, but in the end I did a lot better than I thought. I really love that wording, sometimes we put ourselves in a little box of the style of art that we think we must do or that we like to do, sometimes because it's colorful or whatever it may be. For me, it could be, I don't know, I had a phase in which I was really reluctant to doing anything with color, right? And then you start to think then what's your characteristic style? Like colors, or is a specific set of subjects, or maybe it's that your art or your pieces are dark, but dark doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be like dark in palette, right? This comparison is quite dark, and it's letting through a little bit of your values, what you think about the world, and I think that's really important. And maybe that starts to become your style, not necessarily that you do dark things. This is a dark topic, right? And portray it as you want. You are talking about something that's pretty loaded, you know what I mean? So I guess that's a really cool thing to maybe try to explore, graphically. What does it mean, these contracts, right? It can point towards something within us that's really dark, and maybe that's the dark part, the rugged part, right? Not so much like in the torn paper threshold style, you know? Family, friends, fun, let's build something together. Okay, yeah, these are really different. So let's grab these two. I want to just give them a nice look. I like the idea that they contradict on concept. I would like to see, you know what this looks like? Like a ticket for an event or some movie theater, car movie theater, you know what I mean? I would have leaned into lust a lot more, you know? Show me something gnarly. I don't know, without going too explicit. You could do a lot with a female body, you know, with sensuality, or maybe a man body, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, but I think the body can put out a lot of more taboo imagery without being explicit. There is a lot that can be suggested with the body, and you didn't like used that a lot. That I think it would be really nice to contrast all these graphics and all this fun gesture that you have on the top. You contradicted the ideas and the sort of feel you get from the ideas, but it would have been nice to also get that contradiction in like the images, you know, in a more raw way, you know. You're talking about something that for you is taboo for society, then make it taboo imagery, you know, without, or at least exploring more that end, you know. Here you went a little bit shy on the working ladies, you know. Nice, it's nice the comparison you took, like the opposite ideas. I don't think you went the entire way with this one, with the Harry Hines one. You know what I mean? I guess you could push this a bit further, not so shyly, and go full forbidden, you know what I mean? Let me see if there is some Anbu operatives here. Go back to the others, but you see EG and Summon PSD are Anbu operatives, which is the Patreons, and those get preferential feedback. But I'll still give feedback to the ones that I feel that are committed and I have something nice to say that could nurture the feedback for everyone. But yeah, let me take a look at these ones. Real-blooded submission for week 14, flourish and containment. Idea was to create two contrasting pieces exploring the emotional opposition between flourishing and feeling. Contained, restricted. My goal was to create a sense of what it means to express freely versus being held back when looking at the pieces together. Flourish, soft, natural, forms and colors and blooming flowers. Containment, harsh barriers confronting mostly black and whites. I have something to say. The pieces are beautiful in their own right, but are they the exercise, my guy? Which of these posters seems a bit contained, you know? What we're talking about here, containment, like, because I can see, in this piece, I can see a flourishing of madness, a flourishing of something dark. And in this piece, I can see you are literally trapping the color. You are literally containing a feeling, right? With the shapes. This one feels a lot more contained. If we changed the script, it will be perfect. Flourish, soft, natural forms. Where are the natural forms here? In which one you see more natural forms? But this texture, the human body, it's already like a pretty natural form if you ask me, you know? To think of what do the shapes we use mean, right? And what emotions do they help convey by the way we use them? We put a color inside a container. What does it mean? What does it mean that this color of this figure it's inside a container? We put a texture over everything. What does it mean? That it's corroded, or that it has life, or that it's there, that it exists. Also containment. Like, you can make the piece and not necessarily put the word, you know, in blossom. I guess this one is nice because you get the contrast, because it says in blossom, you put in blossom, and then the piece looks a bit contained. So that makes me think, like, what do you mean? But again, it's not that this exercise, it needed to be that play on words, right? After what you said on the brief, that's not what I'm seeing here. That's what I'm trying to say. The exercise is good because it's what you try to do. You try to juxtapose opposing ideas. That's the exercise, and that's perfect because you can see it now that I said it, right? It's not that I'm saying something that's not apparent, or now that I said it, like you don't see it, right? You see what I'm saying. That's important, because if I say stuff and you're like, I don't see it, my guy, then it's not the point, right? Because the point is that after I said this, everyone that's watching this looks at the pieces and can see what I'm saying for a fact off of the brief that you said here, right? Flourish, soft, natural forms, colors and blooming flowers, right? Now that you've all seen this, you can apply it to your pieces, right? See where the mismatch is. Because if you flip the brief, then the pieces are okay, and I can say they are derivative. But if that's what you wanted to do, that's okay, right? That's design. It's the intention. You achieved your intention or you did not. Perfect imperfect. One represents perfection and symmetry, while its comparison, its imperfection being somewhat incomplete and unresolved, but still being its own piece, implying room to grow. What do we think, chat? I like that he did perfect and imperfect, and you can't specifically tell which one is which. You can only tell by the circle. The circle and the symmetry are really powerful symbols of order, right? Of what one could consider the perfect, right? But the figure of the ballerina, it's sort of asymmetric, right? So it's breaking with that perfection and making it a lot more dynamic. It's not that he went with the classic perfect symmetrical piece and then the asymmetrical piece. Both are asymmetrical in their own right, but there is a much more orderly gesture to this one, and I think that's a more elegant way of trying to convey this. Yeah, I think it's nice. Like I wouldn't know what to say that would add anything. I think it's nice. I would like maybe to see a bit more contrast, because they don't seem so opposite. I can see the opposition because you are telling me. Let me think. I like that one has a lot of text. The one with the angel, it's implying a sort of grid and an order, you know? I don't know why I feel they are a lot similar, right? Both could be used for perfection and it would be okay, you know? With this, I'm just trying to see if a more aggressive change in the values could give me like a different read on the piece, you know? Now they look a bit more like different. Something that's a bit more amorphous and is not that well defined in shape, but still have some order because of the implied text over it. But yeah, it was nice. Big props, my guy. I feel I could improve the editing for the first poster, which I will. Just wanted to get some thoughts on them this far. I don't know, but I don't know which are the ideas for this one. Bro didn't say, but okay, it's nice that he didn't say, because we can just try to figure them out. What do you think, guys? It's good about these posters in the context of the exercise. I have a read about this piece, but I don't know if it's the correct one. This one, having the entire galaxy in his hand and contained, talks about control, about foresight, about vision, the galaxy in your hand, the space. And the other one is like he's lost in the space. This one has like a sort of aimlessness and sense of dread and being lost. And this one looks in full control. I think this is the best one for this exercise, the ones that we've seen, right? It's simple. It has no words, right? We didn't even entirely knew what the concept was. No, sorry, it looks from the same set. It looks like a system, right? You can tell that these both posters belong in the same thing, right? They channel completely different emotions. One of full control, I'm the master of the universe, and the other, it's kill me. Just kill me, you know? A plus, my guy. You know what would make it better? Threshold. What more do we have here? Oh, we had this one I wanted to check out. This one I liked this one. Do they look from the same set? Yeah, they do. A thought becomes a loop becomes a knot. You replay, rewind, rewrite until silence grows louder and even simple things feel heavy. That's deep. A thought comes and goes, a spark without a flame. You skip, skim, surrender while questions pass you by. And nothing ever feels that deep. Okay, what's the concept? Oh, I love that he used the week 14 submission in a spoiler warning if you want to figure it out yourself first. Love it. Love that he used that communication there. First ever submission, so please let me know if I didn't get it right. Harsh critique is welcome. Typography shit. You should uninstall Photoshop. I hate this. I'm joking. It's really good. I was getting, from just watching the images, I got that you were saying like the underthinking was better than the overthinking. Now reading the poems, I like that you went the complete way. Like you were fuck all of y'all, fuck overthinking and fuck underthinking, you know? That's going for the opposites, right? That was the exercise. He saw it more than I did, you know? A thought comes and goes. Yeah, it would have been nice to have the typography matched in both. Oh no, but wait, the typography being small means that you're overthinking and you can't hear it, right? Yeah. Bro is saying, I think the first one is like the thoughts that go everywhere without sense, and the second it's a more linear thought, right? But what I'm saying is the gesture of having in one like the big typography and the other one has the small type. Like what does it mean? Rasterize. We could get rid of this text. Let's merge both layers. I'm just wanna do something quick. Look at this, guys. But you know what I mean? It's a lot less, and you can see this one feeling overwhelming and this one feeling underwhelming. And then the typography in one being small and in the other being big, it feels a lot more intentional, right? This is a classic less is more. And I would even go as far as doing maybe something like this. And like this, we make it completely contrasting opposite. Maybe this, we can make it like even more. You make the contrast much more apparent, you know, you make it super intentional, super clear, right? And you didn't put overthinking and underthinking, right? It was just the seed of the idea, and I think it's really nice. Like, I like it. Real nice job you did there with the poster system. It needed a bit more intentionality in the way it was designed, but the idea for the images, it was great. So it was great. Just take from it from what I'm doing, like seeing which ways you can make that contrast, like stretch it to the end, you know, almost break it. So yeah, let's go. So for my piece, I'm not really sure of what I want to do. So yeah, I want to do something around, you know, that feeling when you finally understand Photoshop. I want to do like something like a meme, you know, like when I understood Photoshop, like that feeling, and then the feeling of Photoshop crashed on me, you know, something like that. Do you like it, guys? I think it's cool. And yeah, my guys, want to see you all on the Discord channel, uploading your pieces. You already know how it is. Fuck peace, wish you conflict.